You might be a new or even an intermediate level player at Delta Force, but because of how complex the buying, selling and crafting in this game can get, you may still not be fully up to speed with getting the most value out of your hard-earned loot. But having been through that journey, I know exactly what you would want to know. So I'm here with a video on how to buy things as cheaply as possible, when and how best to craft items, and also which items you should be keeping or selling after a raid. There is a lot to go through, but I'll make this as quick and as simple as possible so that from your very next game, you'll be making more money, which will allow you to have better gear and upgrades to enjoy Delta Force. So the thing that underpins everything else that comes in this video, the thing that determines where you're going to craft, buy things, sell things, and how you're going to make all your money or get fleeced, is the auction house. This is what determines the whole of the economy in game, essentially. By having an understanding of this, it's going to better help you understand what you should be doing at any time in the game. So when you first load up the game, and also when you're queuing into matches, if you've got a bit of a long queue time, make it a bit of a habit of just starting coming into the auction house and paying attention to how much things cost. You don't have to understand everything. What you're interested in is the value of things, particularly that you are going to be using. And I would just pick out, if you're not doing this already, I would pick out one or maybe two things that you are regularly going to use or find useful. It could be a helmet, it could be body armor, it could be a med crate, something that you know that you regularly use and find useful. I'm going to use one example for me to just demonstrate. The Dick training helmet here is 191 grand right now. Okay, for a new one, it's 78 grand for a like new. So that means it's 35 health brand new and 29 health like new. Okay, and even as I've just clicked that, the price has fluctuated. And this is the thing that we need to pay attention to. I've seen this helmet as high as about 160 grand this morning. I've also seen it as low as 92. In fact, so I'm going to jump on that right now. 3 of those. Boom. 3 of them bought for 92 grand a pop for a brand new Dick training helmet. That is about as cheap as you can get this helmet. And essentially what I've done there is I've managed to buy an item that is valuable to me as cheaply as you can physically buy it. Likewise, it also allows me to know when not to buy things, but just start getting in the habit of understanding what items cost, what their new prices, what their nearly new prices. Obviously with things like chest rigs, there's no new nearly new, it just costs what they are. But like for example, I know this assault tack vest, which is a useful one for me. I know this regularly goes for like 16 grand, 32 grand. If I was to buy that now, that's absolutely top whack. I've seen this as cheap as 12 grand today. So if I had space in my stash, that's worth going in and just bulk buying a few of these vests at 12 grand a pop and saving a bit of cash. So you can just follow that on with any item relative to whatever level you're at in the game. Obviously, when you're getting into blue items, the savings and the price differences aren't as much, but the higher up you go in the game, the more expensive the value of the kit you're using, the more money you can potentially be saving every time you buy something or sell something or craft something. So from here, let's talk about crafting. So we've talked about when it's good to buy things in the auction house. Let's talk about when it's good things to craft things and how we best craft. So 2 places to do so. First, our black site. As you can see here, I've got ammunition on the go and a vest. Our ammunition here, I'm making this gold ammo because this is the cheapest way for me to produce this, for me to use. Now this armor, I'm in the habit of buying purple armor. That's like the level of the kit I use. But I know that I can buy armor cheaply in the auction house or bulk buy it and stock up. It's more valuable to me to produce these vests to sell and then use that profit to go to the auction house and to go and buy the vests in the auction house. So the 2 purposes is craft things for use for you, where this is the cheapest way you can get your hands on it. Gold ammo, purple ammo, good examples. And then crafting things for selling. I normally would have attachments on the go, but at the minute the prices today are so low, it's not worth me crafting anything because the attachment prices are so cheap in the auction house. I literally can't even produce them by buying crafted ingredients cheaper than I can just buy them straight off in the auction house. Potentially a good day to stock up on some gun parts. There you go. And so our second place to craft items is going to be the supply station. And so if we go here for wearable gear, for example, the base support battalion, I can go over here and if we've got chest rigs, you can't craft purple, so that's why they maintain a certain value in the auction house. But vests, for example, we can craft vests. One I find is useful is backpacks. I find backpacks tend to produce offer good value as crafting. Some of the things are quite expensive. Essentially, this purple bag here is going to cost me 13, add another 20. It's going to cost me in a region of 40 grand to craft, okay? So on any given day, I can craft this bag for 40 grand. I can only buy one at a time, so I know I will, if the auction prices are high, I'm going to come in and I'm going to buy one of these, I'm going to buy one of these, and I'm going to buy one of these, because these are the 3 good backpacks for my sort of level. As it happens, again, because I've been paying attention to the auction prices, if we go to the backpacks, I can see these have shot right up. These were much cheaper earlier, but the field hiking backpack is only 33,000 right now. So I'm not going to bother crafting it using 40 grand worth of ingredients. I'm just going to buy it from the auction house. When you want to craft is on days when the demand is high and the auction house prices are through the roof. So on days when maybe the weekends, everything's just getting churned over, these hiking backpacks, just the expense goes through the roof. That's when I'm going to go over to the supply station and craft myself a backpack rather than buy it from the auction house. Alternatively, also, we can just stock up on cheap days like today. And then in terms of sourcing things and buying things, the last thing to pay attention to is the T&E Lab. So if we head over here, we've got 2 pages we're interested in really for today. One is limited time items. This refreshes every day. Give it a little glance, but generally this offers poor value. You're rarely going to find something that's going to give you a good value in terms of what you can craft in. You're best off just selling the stuff and using it to then buy the things in the auction house. The one we're more interested in is this second page. This refreshes once a week, I think, but essentially this is your weekly tradable items. And so when you come on, when this will go in 3 days. Yes, that's going to be Friday, I think. So I think it might be every Friday. But in 3 days from now, this will reset. But for this week, we want to be on the lookout for this item and the water bottles. This tab generally gives you really good value in terms of what you can trade. And as a result, this will send demand for these items through the roof. As it stands, this water bottle, it's only 2 grand, but you won't be able to get it in the auction house. It'll be sold out. Oh, there you go. 1. Should I buy that? I could have bought that for 10 grand and then I can trade for a scope. So the thing to be aware of here is we star these as favourites earlier in the week, and then you pick them up through the week and you can trade those and make a little bit of money off them, or you can trade them in here at the T&E Lab and get some decent gear for not too much outlay. Now, what to sell? Ultimately, it comes down to what has value to you, and the way I would think about this is I prioritise it in a few sort of simple steps. Firstly, do you need it for a black site upgrade? That is the most important thing out of determining whether you need to keep something rather than sell it when you come back from a raid. So for me, currently, this is one of my black site upgrades I need. So I know, other than the fact it's red, I know that if I pick up a golden gazelle out of a raid, I'm not going to sell my golden gazelle because I'm going to need it for this black site upgrade. Same with the rocket fuel. The next question is, can you buy the item? If the answer is no, so if we go to source, rocket fuel, you can see here, there's no auction house price. You can only buy this in-game. If you can only buy it in-game, do not sell that item under any circumstances. The only way I would sell this rocket fuel is if I'd already done this black site upgrade and I knew I wasn't going to ever need rocket fuel ever again. So if you can't buy something, keep it. If you can buy it, your next consideration is how much room is it taking up? Because ultimately, if you can buy it, then you can always buy it from the auction house later on. And the way you would do that is you head over here to source and we can see auction house here. Right, I've got 5 of these. And in theory, if I found another one, I would keep it, but it all depends on my stash space. These are taking up 4 slots each, but they only cost about 130 grand to buy. I think the normal price is about 140. If I was to sell those today, I'm going to lose 20 grand on each one. So they're selling for about 110 grand. So I'm going to lose between 20 and 30 grand on each one. So if I'm losing 20 grand on 7, I'm losing 140 grand essentially if I had 7 and I sold them all. But I'm going to free up 28 slots in my storage. Now I'm getting a little bit complicated here, but the important thing to remember here is what you don't want is you don't want to be in a situation where your functioning stash is empty. Mine's full right now because I've been hoarding to make this video, but you need workable daily tradable item space. Okay, if this just all gets full with all your collectibles, you need to sell some collectibles. And this is a good example. If I had 7 of these and I sold them, I'm going to lose 140 grand in terms of when I buy them back at the auction house. But I'm only going to lose that 140 grand once. If I have really low stash space, really low working stash space, because it's full with junk or collectibles or whatever, that means every day, every time I buy some armor, some ammo, I want to craft something, I'm going to be losing a couple of thousand alloy every single time. And over days or weeks, that'll quickly overshadow that 140 grand. Even with just a couple of armor purchases, I can quickly lose money by being forced into a position where I've not got room to store some armor and I'm having to buy armor at top tier price instead of being able to buy it cheap and save the money that way. For example, what I paid about 90 grand for each of these this morning, I think. But if I was forced into buying those at 160 grand, losing me 70 grand each, that's already 210 grand. That's overshadowed the money I'm going to lose by selling my crafting items for my black site, if that makes sense. So it's the turnover. I'm going to clear my stash out at the end of today once I've finished this video, but I would, if I was desperate for space, these explosives would be a top candidate for me to sell. This is a good example. This is a high value item. I don't now need it for my black site. Do I need it for crafting? Usage? Right, so on the list of things I can use this for, I'm not going to use this for crafting anything. So this now is of no use to me whatsoever. So we can sell it. And we've got 2 ways of selling, back to the supply station or through the auction house. Because I found this in a raid, it's not bound to me, so I have the option to sell it through the auction house. As you can see, 223 grand, far superior to the original price. And because it's a common item for upgrading a black site, and people don't come across it that often, it's selling for a good price. This column here represents, there's currently 403 of these on sale at this price. It's suggesting I sell it at this price here with just 9 other items available, or 10 other items available. I'm going to go for that, and then I'm confident that this is going to sell nice and easy. If I was to push my price up to like 287 grand, people are going to buy all of these, or have to buy all of these before it gets to mine. And as other things come onto the market, these items in this column might never sell at all. So you have to judge this on case-by-case basis. But for me, on this occasion, I'm confident that is going to sell at that price list. Gone. Some items that you find in raid might not be red, but you cannot buy them, and so you shouldn't be selling those either. Premium ammo parts here, that's an example. Usage, it's for crafting red ammo. If you go to source, you can't buy it. So again, I know that is a very sought after item. If I'm ever going to produce red ammo ever, I have to find these. Same with the rocket fuel. So although it might be an age before I can find another one of these, I'm not going to sell that, because essentially that's going to be one of the hardest things for me to find at the stage of the game I'm at. Some things like this don't have any use. There's no usage button because you can't use it for anything. It's just an event item. So it's literally just, you pick it up in raid, you sell it to make some money. We can sell that, unless you want to keep it for whatever reason, but I'm not bothered about that. Sell. Same with the gold egg, no usage. That was just from the event. In terms of which items to buy back to the supply station versus the auction house when you have the option available, this is a good example, this radio here. It's used for the black site, so you'd think it would sell for a good price. But as we can see here, because it's so common, I think there's just not that much demand for it at the minute. Although we could get 19.5 selling it straight to the supply station offer, and then it won't go into our auction list. If we check the auction house offer, 21 grand, we're actually in a bit of competition there. There's a bit of a stack of people trying to sell it. Maybe people aren't buying it that much at the minute. So to feel a bit more confident of guaranteeing a sale, I drop my price to move me down here so that I'll be the first one sold. But now we're only making 19.7. If we come back out, 19.7, but I can sell it straight away for 19.5. So for that reason, I'm just selling it straight back to the supply station, not faffing around with that. The price of these double purples does fluctuate a bit, so these are ones to keep your eye on. Sometimes they go up, sometimes they go down. Sometimes there's a little bit of a gap. As you can see at the minute here, 26 versus 28. Again, just another big high stack there. So I would probably drop my price a bit to feel a bit more comfortable. And then again, at 26.3, I'm not making any profit on it, so I might as well just sell it straight away to the supply station. Off we go. I've got a couple of them, so what I can do is I can hit the batch sell and click them both. I could do this after I've assessed everything, but I can click them both and just go sell, and that'll sell them both straight to the supply station. A function that's really useful to use is, we talked about it for the T&E items, but it's essentially favoriting your crafting items to help you remember. I have this tagged, this professional sound card tagged, because this is useful for crafting the training helmets. If we go to usage, we see here the training helmet, view, and there we go. And so I know by keeping these in stock, I can always craft this helmet if I've got them in stock. If you don't, you can go to the auction and you can buy them. But looping back to the auction house and the price of things, at the minute, I've just bought some of those for like 90 grand. The cost of these components is about 90 grand, if not a little bit more. I think it's 100 grand. So I'm going to stick with auction house prices today, but I will keep these components, these ingredients in my stash for a rainy day when the auction prices are staying high. Maybe there's a little bit of a period where the Dick training helmet isn't going cheap and it's staying like 150, 200 grand. That is where I've got these items, and then I'm guaranteed to be able to come to the base support battalion and craft them myself for a guaranteed price, and I'm not reliant upon people. These, I could obviously buy them at any time, and at the minute they're cheap, 37 grand, fairly cheap. But what will happen is when these go expensive in the auction house, people will start crafting, and people who haven't stockpiled these items, particularly the rarer things like the sound cards, maybe not the cameras so much, but maybe the sound cards, the price of the sound card is then going to skyrocket. Me, I'm going to stockpile those as much as I can so that I can craft them when I need to craft them. So one important thing to note is when we talked about the black site and crafting things in a black site to sell, that's because items you make in the black site are not bound to you. You can sell them in the auction. Anything you trade in base support battalion will be bound to you, so you cannot sell it at auction. So just an example, if we look here at this helmet, I've bought this from the auction house, I think, so it's bound to me, which means if I went to sell, if I crafted it in a black site, 168 grand currently, but if I wanted to sell it back to the supply station, a measly 38,000 alloy. Obviously, I'm not going to do that. That'd be crazy. So just remember, when you're crafting things in the supply station, these are items to use. If something doesn't sell, just be sure to go here to your auction tab, sell, and anything that hasn't sold within the price because you're not priced it correctly, that will stay in there until you remove it from this list. Everything's got 24 hours to sell. And folks, I think that about wraps it up. If you've got any questions, stick them down in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them, or if you see any questions from other people and you see it first, feel free to throw out any answers or good experiences you've got or tips you've got. I'm not professing to be the most experienced player in this game, but I am absolutely a certified loot goblin, and making money is what I do relative to my level in this game.